Hi, everybody. My name is John Sciacca, and I am the equipment reviewer for residential systems. And today I am joined with Colton Ford, president of Juke Audio, and we're going to be talking about an exciting new product, a unique new product that the company is launching called the AudioMate. But before we get into that, Colton, let me say thank you for joining us, and thanks for being here to talk about this new product.
Of course. Always a pleasure, John. Happy to be back here with you again.
Yeah, you launched the very first of these that we did, so it's great to kind of circle back to it. And before we get into the AudioMate and all the cool things that it does, I thought it would be nice for the people that aren't familiar with Juke Audio for you to kind of give us some quick background on the company. It feels like personally, it was just a couple of years ago that I met you and the company at the new exhibitors row at CEDIA Expo. And now we're into a second generation of products, new product introductions and launches. How did we get here?
Great question. It's been a little over 6 years now that we've been in market, and time flies. It certainly only felt like a few years from my side as well. And, there's been a lot of twists and turns over the past 6 years that have ultimately got us to this point. But the same mission critical and value that we're trying to bring to the market has held true. When we first came to market, we came to market with a single solution for doing distributed audio in a home or commercial space in the form of what we called a multi-room streaming amplifier. So at its core, obviously an amplifier powering architectural speakers, your in-ceiling, your in-wall. But then we really put a twist on it with the type of wireless control and music streaming capabilities that people are all looking for now. And we did that via things like AirPlay 2 and Spotify Connect, and we embedded a single independent source for each one of those onto every single zone onto the hardware, which gave our users the flexibility to play their music over the network to any of their connected speakers directly from within their own music apps. And people really grew fond of that type of solution, just given how simple it was. And then since then, a lot has changed. We now have built-in services directly in our app. We went to CEDIA multiple times and came out with essentially a pro version of our base model Juke in the form of a Juke Plus with built-in EQ, more power, line out, sub out, you name it, just a more enhanced model. And those are really the two flagship amplifier models that we've still brought to market today and are still selling with continued firmware iterations and enhancements that our customers have grown to love and expect that we continually push the envelope on. But now beyond just the amplifiers, we wanted to expand our product portfolio to give our users a solution where they could feel everything goes nicely and cohesively together, all from Juke. So we started by adding in speakers, as obviously, the amplifier is going to get paired with speakers. And we came to market with first an initial 8-inch ceiling speaker called the Sky Speaker. We then built upon that and added a 6.5-inch variant to the Sky Speaker. And then most recently, we added in an outdoor wall mount speaker called the Spin Speaker. And the commonality between all of these is they are perfectly designed for optimal sound pairing with any one of our amplifiers. And in the name of simplicity, which is a huge part of our value proposition here, not only easy to use, but easier for our installers and customers to deploy, we wanted to make these speakers uniquely simple as well. So in the case of the ceiling speakers, we said, hey, what about if we found a way to actually remove a drill from this equation or a screwdriver and just instead give it a way to latch directly into the sheetrock with a tool that comes in the box. And we were able to accomplish that. So now you just go up on your ladder, put your ceiling speaker into the hole, use this plastic rivet that comes in the box and little wings fan out, and they hold it directly into place, saving a heck of a lot of time, especially if you're doing, a dozen of these in a home. And then with the outdoor wall-mounted speaker, again, a very quick, easy-to-install speaker that sounds great with the Juke. And we wanted to give anybody the flexibility to angle it, whether they wanted it left, right, up, or down, whichever way was optimal for their backyard, patio, you name it. And the Spin Speaker has accomplished that for our customer base as well. So now looking past just speakers, we started to think about what it would look like to start incorporating subwoofers, soundbars, televisions, you name it, all the other auxiliary products that you typically find with a whole home audio system. And we've come to market with essentially a versatile adapter that allows you to incorporate all of those different devices, no matter what manufacturer has made them. And that piece that does that is the AudioMate, which is the center of the focus for today's video and talk.
Nice. Well, you led me right into it. One thing I did want to say is kind of your tagline, and the first thing that you see when you open the box up is a sound made simple. And it really is. I mean, the install guide is all of 4 steps. And, one of those steps is connect the speaker wires and, get the phasing right. So I know a lot of people, it can be daunting setting up a distributed audio system. The Juke Plus, it does, I think, like 8 rooms worth of audio. It's a lot of connections back there. And I happen to have one right there. And again, it's just a really clean, simple design to get all your music around the house. But like you said, what do I do if I want to add a subwoofer or another source? And then that's where we get to this guy. And I'm gonna pop him open right now. Again, it comes with a nice QR code right on the outside of the box to get you into the instructions and all that. And what I love, because again, this will be the 3rd Juke product that I've actually reviewed, from your very first one to the Plus, now to adding the AudioMate. And again, we come with the Sound Made Simple card right there. It's got an HDMI cable, which is nice. I always love it when stuff comes with everything I need to make it work. It used to drive me crazy where you'd open up something and say, oh, you need a USB-C power supply. And guess what? I don't have one. But you've got it right here in the box for me, so we're good to go. Yes. So again, here it is. And maybe you can walk us through on one side, we've got an Ethernet port to get it on the network, but it also will do Wi-Fi if you don't have an Ethernet, correct?
Correct.
And then on the other side, we've got a suite of RCA ins and outs. And kind of unique about this, a lot of unique things, but the first kind of unique thing is when I first heard about the product, I was thinking that it would be like a typical audio balance system where you'd need a sender and a receiver. But this is a sender and a receiver all in one box. So that you don't need them in pairs. You just need them in eaches.
Correct.
And then last but not least, we've got the other big trick that it does, which is HDMI ARC and eARC in and out. So kind of let's just take it. Let's start with there. I mean, because that's kind of one of the big selling features for it. What can I do with this?
Let's start by the fact is the Juke Plus itself. It does have hardwired connection for a TV. It does have a hardwired connection for an analog audio source with line in. But the fact of the matter is it's not always easy to run the wiring from all of those different devices back to your centralized rack. With an equipment piece like Juke, it could be in the basement, but your TV's on the living room on the 3rd floor. That puts the installer in a difficult situation if they want to get that wiring from that television back to that centralized rack location. And especially for a product like ours, which, don't get me wrong, is oftentimes sold into new construction, but it's also often sold as retrofits in scenarios where the drywall is already up. It's not necessarily feasible to do that wiring after the fact. And here is the answer for that. This AudioMate piece connects to the network, Ethernet or Wi-Fi, like you described. And when it's on a network that any one of our Juke audio amplifiers is on, they see each other and they form a bond over that network. And they form a bond in a way that allows any audio sources that you connect into it appear as additional audio sources in the Juke app that can play out to any of the connected speaker zones on the Juke amplifier itself, or do a pass through to any of the outputs on this device. And additionally, any of the outputs, they will appear as additional quote unquote zones in the Juke app that can be then grouped together with any of the speaker zones on the Juke amplifier itself. So that kind of sets the stage on why this is impactful to the customer and what the type of functionality is. But now to get into the specific use cases, starting with HDMI, the most notable thing for that will be a television. So you could go HDMI out from your TV, connect this in. It comes with 2 little Velcro straps, and you can mount this directly behind the back of your television. And now when you open your Juke app, you see this AudioMate connected via HDMI as a source And then any of your connected speakers, so say you have ceiling speakers in that room that are powered by the Juke amp in the basement, you can now have that TV in that room playing audio out of the speakers in that room, again, without actually having to wire the TV all the way back to the Juke amp. And we have done ample testing with this product on many different speakers, many different network topographies. And ideally, you get it on Ethernet for a situation like TV that has a visual component. But we've also done a lot of testing with it on Wi-Fi. And as long as you have an access point and relatively close range, you will have limited latency to the point you can watch a show comfortably without noticing any lip sync issues. And now your Juke audio system goes from something where it's not just about seamless music enjoyment from all of your built-in speakers. You can have television audio playing out of all your speakers. And obviously, most notably, you'll have that playing in the room where the television lives. But let's say you're entertaining and you've got a sports game on, you've got people in your backyard, simply would just go into the Juke app, turn on Second Zone, backyard, and now next thing you know, you've got your television audio playing throughout all your landscape speakers, and really just turning it into an environment where everybody, no matter where they're standing in the house, can hear the audio you want easily.
Yeah, let me just break that down for someone who's lived on the install side of it. In the past, we used to create a distributed house-wide audio source. We would use something like a cable box because it would have an analog audio output that we could feed into the system. And now, I mean, companies are getting rid of cable boxes, and most audio systems don't have a way of getting HDMI into the system. And again, like you said, I frequently, and especially in an existing install, I don't have a pathway between the TV and the distributed audio system in many cases. And if I do, that could be a really expensive cable run if I've got my rack somewhere or something. So that I can take this, which is, I mean, again, it's just, I'm trying to think of the best way to show it. It's just a little thicker than my iPhone. So it would, about the thickness of my finger. So it would, that's a better comparison. Very easily would tuck in behind even the slimmest of TVs. And now it's a terrific no new cables approach. And I can get that audio. And the request for TV audio, what we frequently saw from one of the most was like an event viewing. Like, I've got the Super Bowl, people are coming over, I've got an Oscars watch party, whatever. I want to pipe that throughout the rest of the house. And you've taken something that kind of has gone away because, again, TVs are also getting rid of their analog audio outputs in many cases, and made it a simple one box, one cable add-in to get to the system. So that's really, can't be stated how impressive that is.
Yeah, we're very pleased with how this all came out. It's been a lot of work, a lot of unique development that's gone into this. We're just very pleased to now be bringing this to market. And on the Juke Plus model, we have optical input, which is reliable and works great, but it has a key limitation that HDMI ARC does not have, which is why we were very adamant about including that on this piece, which is volume control can be done from a TV remote. And secondly, the Juke will remember which zones you're trying to have this AudioMate source play out to. So effectively, you wouldn't need to visit the Juke app again, really, after you set it. It can be set and forget. You turn your TV on, it auto triggers and plays out to the zones you want, and volume control is done right from your TV remote. So really no or limited interaction with the Juke app. Once you've set this up, it's just use your TV as you normally would, and voila, it works.
And another thing I don't think that you mentioned, but it's also really key is with the HDMI input and output, I can still feed that local sound bar if I have it, or take that ARC connection back to my audio system if I needed that as well. So it's not an either or, I'm getting them both.
That was another key attribute of this product that we wanted to make sure was included, was an HDMI out. So as you just pointed out, it gives you the ability to have this sit in between a television and a soundbar And then you can have that soundbar play in sync with the speakers that are also in that room. And it doesn't force you into any one specific type of soundbar. I mean, if it has an HDMI input, which at this point, every single soundbar really should, you can incorporate it into this system. So if you have a budget for, a 4-foot long soundbar, it's a couple $1,000s, great. If you have a soundbar budget of only $100 because it's in a guest bedroom, as long as it has an HDMI input, it's going to work. And you can have that play in sync with the speakers that are in that room without being forced into any one ecosystem of products. This is the glue. This is the ties that bring all these different pieces of equipment together without being forced into one specific ecosystem.
Yeah. And talking about the kind of the functionality of the in and out, I know that, we're seeing the vinyl resurgence. We hear so much about it. Denon just launched a brand new turntable. I know of another company, I can't remember the embargo date, so I'm not going to mention them, who's got a couple of new turntables coming out. But again, that turntable might be in a music room, it might be in a bedroom, it might be in a room that's not where the audio rack is. Obviously for the ergonomics of loading records onto it. But with the input, you can easily add that turntable into it, and now you've added another source to the house system. And then on top of that, if you wanted, with the output, you could either add a local powered sub, or I'm assuming if I had sources connected to the Juke amp, if I wanted to add a local amplifier here for another sub zone, I could do that as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you nailed it there on what the purpose for the RCA in is. I got a record player that I've been using pretty much daily for the past years. We've been developing this product, and it's just become something that I really love and appreciate. And again, my Juke amp is down in my basement, but I sit up in here in my office. I have my record player on my desk. I connect this in, and I can send that audio to the Juke, have it play out of whatever speakers I want. And then on the RCA outside, yeah, it's to add additional sound coverage, whether that be a powered subwoofer like you described, a third-party power amplifier, even powered speakers. And those can all play in harmony with any of the speakers that are wired to the Juke amplifier. So, a few different use cases for this maybe be, hey, I want to add a powered subwoofer on my living room floor, and the ceiling speakers are powered by Juke. And my powered sub, it's 15 years old. It doesn't have any streaming capabilities or anything like that. No problem. Just plug this right in behind it. And now it becomes an additional zone in the Juke app that you can stream out to via AirPlay, Spotify, our new built-in streaming functions, and have that play in sync with whatever speakers are wired to the amp. Another scenario for this maybe be, hey, we're decided we want to add a speaker throughout our backyard. But again, we can't get wiring for those speakers all the way back to the rack at this point. The house has already finished construction. Well, no worries. We'll just get another, 2-channel power amp to drive your landscape speakers and put this behind it. And now that third-party amp will, at least as the Juke is concerned, look at it as just an additional zone. Now, when you want to play the same audio in the backyard, that's in the kitchen, you can do that, and everything will blend together, cohesively as a one single system.
What I love about that is it lets me go back to my customer and offer upgrades that are, I'm not going to say not painful, but less painful, right? It's, instead of, hey, it's going to take us a day of wire retro, and we're going to have to do some wall work and all that, it's going to be, hey, we'll put an amp here, it's on an outside wall, we can run the wire, no problem, and then this is going to be our link straight back to the rack. And now you've taken something that could take a day or two and cut it down to hours. And once you take that pain point out, people are far more likely to consider, let's do that upgrade. Let's see what it sounds like.
Totally. And again, like we were saying at the very beginning of this, all in the name of simplicity. That's what we're going for here. It's just easy for people to use, and it's easier for people to install, whether that people are doing it DIY or they're bringing in their installer to do it for them. And at this point, I'd say a third of our installs are maybe retrofits, 2/3 are new construction. So this really caters to both of those worlds. On the new construction side of things, look, the installation's a lot quicker. It's a lot easier to deploy. And then on the retrofit side of things, you're able to do things, frankly, you couldn't do otherwise without significant, revamping of construction that's already been in place. So this tool is versatile, unique, and serves a lot of purpose for customers of all kinds.
Well, I'm thinking too, again, I've got the Juke Plus next to me, which I'm sure would be your preferred Juke platform that people go with. But the AudioMate works with any existing Juke product. And speaking to like retrofit, I know like a big thing that we've been doing is as our older kind of Rust Sound, Niles, Elan systems have kind of aged out. People are looking to add new functionality to them. The speaker wire is all still there, and that's really all that you need. But between adding one of the Juke, amplifier systems and audio mates around the house, you really can bring them into the 21st century of audio in a very short order of time. I mean, just changing amp connections out and a couple of plug and you're ready to go.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you can go from speaker selector switches or keypads that have grown archaic to just seamless movement across your house using all your favorite music apps, your Apple Music, your Spotify, and streaming. And now to even incorporating TVs and subwoofers. And in a lot of people's cases, it's going to be with equipment that they already have. So they're not forced into going to buy all new equipment that has to have some Wi-Fi module built into it. This thing brings all of their analog gear and all of their audio pieces that they maybe already own into this world of wireless control and seamless connectivity.
But if they upgraded from 6-inch to 8-inch Sky speakers, you wouldn't hate it.
We'll prove that.
Okay. So I've got a Juke, I've got an AudioMate. How quick is the adding process? Walk us through what that looks like.
Yeah, so you're going to go into the settings of the Juke app. You first need to have one of the amplifiers installed and on the network, as this is a companion piece for that amplifier specifically, at least as it currently stands. And after that point, you'll go to manage devices. You'll want to stand directly next to the AudioMate. You'll do a scan via Bluetooth. This device will come up. It'll say, hey, how do you want to connect this Ethernet or Wi-Fi? That'll be about a 30-second process. You'll then say, hey, am I using this for strictly the inputs, or am I also using this for the outputs? And the onboarding flow will basically pre-configure the device based on that. In the example where, hey, I'm just plugging in my TV via HDMI to this, I'm not using any of the outs, then, hey, it's just going to say AudioMate TV, and then the onboarding flow will be done. You'll go into your Juke app, and no different than any of your other audio sources that are associated with the Juke amp, you'll see your AudioMate now appear, and then all of your listed zones that are being broadcasted by the Juke amplifier or any of the outputs on this AudioMate specifically, and then you just toggle those zones to on, and next time audio is detected on, in this example, the HDMI input, it's going to play out to those zones. So very quick and simple onboarding and configuration. Could literally be a matter of 2 minutes before you're up and running. And that's really all there is to it.
So you dropped a little bit of a spoiler in there. I'm not sure if you were aware of it or not, but you said as it currently stands, it only works with Juke products. But there's a roadmap for the AudioMate.
Yes, we are currently limiting this to functioning with our Juke audio amplifier. But there is certainly a lot of other applications that we see for this. We're going to begin conversations with other manufacturers to potentially make this product work alongside them nicely. Can't give you a list of who those manufacturers might be at this time, but stay on the lookout as the product will certainly expand in nature based off of that. And there's even talks of a potential receiving end component of this that could plug into anybody's product. And like you talked about in the beginning, you don't necessarily need a receiving end product with this because this is a receiver and a transmitter and it speaks wirelessly to the Juke amp. But there is potential down the road that we do make a companion piece that allows this to speak to any other product that is wired into. So stay tuned for that. But in the here and now, this is the product that adds to the Juke ecosystem's functionality in a number of ways, like we've discussed today.
And one other thing that you had mentioned, we chatted previously, there's the possibility of this expanding even into surround sound with the Juke audio part.
Yes, that's the other thing. They always say, show what you have or not what you're going to have. So I've been a little bit reluctant on talking about the upcoming features, but yes, that is one thing that we do have the ability to enable with this product, and we are intending to likely do that in the near future, is to have this come back and send audio in surround sound format to the Juke amplifier, at which point you could go into our app and say, hey, channels 1 through 5, let's dedicate that to surround sound, but then let's still allocate channels 8 through 12 to stereo, and then have 3 rooms that are doing stereo while simultaneously providing surround sound in another room, effectively making the Juke amp a multi-zone stereo amp / surround sound receiver all in one box, which is something we're very excited about. And like I described with the Juke amplifiers at the beginning, we don't have a ongoing subscription model or anything like that. We're just continually pushing the envelope on features and making those available for all of our units for free for all of our customers. And any of our customers that have bought our product back to 2019, they've definitely reaped the benefits of that. And the same thing with this AudioMate. We feel very, very comfortable and strong with the functionality we're coming to market with, but it's not something that's just going to sit. We're going to continually iterate on this thing, listen to customer feedback, and continue to make the Juke ecosystem as strong, reliable, and simple as possible.
Fantastic. Well, Colt, I can't wait to get it connected in my own house and take a listen to it and play with it. I love how unique it is, and I love all the thought that went into it. It's, having been in the field for 20 plus years, you can really tell, like you said, with the tool, a speaker install, you can tell when somebody's been on a ladder and they've actually put it in themselves and they get it. And I can tell by like the features that you guys added into this, that like you get it and you understood a product that was missing in the industry, and you fill the hole.
Yeah, thank you very much. It definitely came after a lot of different feedback, looking at different solutions out there in the market, and we didn't want to just recreate what others have already done. We want to come at this from an approach of uniqueness and bring something new and fresh and creative to the market. And we feel like we've done that here with the AudioMate, and couldn't be more excited to have you try it out and see this all for yourself.
Cool. Well, Colton, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today and tell us about the product. And for Residential Systems, I'm John Sciacca. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you later.